Lad departed, and Durbeyfield lay waiting on the grass and daisies in the evening sun. Not a soul passed that way for a long while, and the faint notes of the band were the only human sounds audible within the rim of blue hills. And that concludes chapter 1. Thank you everyone for watching. And that is our reading today for APL Mystery Reads. For the reveal of the title, if you haven't already guessed, it was a little bit obvious just because of the way d'Urberville kept being mentioned. Some of you may have read this book in high school or as a classic or just for fun, but the book is Tess of d'Urbervilles by Thomas Harding. So I picked this book out because I really enjoy literary classics. Thomas Harding is a really great British author. He wrote during the Romanticism period, so late 1800s, early 1900s. He died a little bit after World War I, so a lot of his pessimism and like a bleakness goes into his writing, which you can see in this book and a lot of his other books. So he wrote Jude the Obscure, Far from the Maddening Crowd, The Mayor of Casterbridge. I think the only book of his that I haven't really read was Jude the Obscure. So he was a novelist and he was a poet. So because Tess of d'Urbervilles got a lot of negative reviews, and then I think some of his other novels got some negative reviews when they were released, he kind of quit writing, which is a shame. And he wrote a lot more poetry after that. But his work is characteristic of a love of nature, and a lot of his books take place in the semi-fictional universe of Wessex. So the main character in Tess of d'Urbervilles mentioned it a little bit. But that's also characteristic of the writing of that time period, just because it applauds a rural lifestyle and it kind of idealizes women and children. So Tess of d'Urbervilles is a great example of his writing and some of his other works. In particular, the reason why I like Tess of d'Urbervilles, without giving any spoilers, the first chapter is a great setup for the rest of the book because it talks about, here, I almost forgot his name, even though I just read it. But Sir John, so basically John Durbeyfield, is the father of the main character of the book, which is Tess of d'Urbervilles. So she's the main character of the book, and the first chapter sets it up, even though it's not as a great action chapter. It's a really good setup because basically John Durbeyfield, learning that his family used to be of a noble line or of noble blood, is the catalyst for the rest of the book. So it was a really big reveal that affects everything and affects Tess's life in particular, moving forward. And this book is a tragedy. So there's tragic characters in it. So basically it follows Tess's life as she goes through after they learn that their family was of noble blood. So the book in itself is really a great example of, like, one of the themes of it is that the injustice of existence. So she lives through all these things, and it isn't because she isn't a good person, because she retains a goodness and a kindness and a good sense of self that makes her like a person you would want to know, even though she's going through all of these hardships. So it's kind of a commentary on that. And then it's also a commentary on the social change of class differences. So, like, how does class fit into late Victorian England? For those of you who are interested in that sort of thing. Another really great theme in the book is of men dominating women. So you'll see that, and Tess is the main character. And it's really an interesting book for having been written for when it is, because it's before a lot of feminist ideas were taking hold. And so the fact that Harding wrote this book from the perspective of a woman and made her sympathetic is a really interesting aspect of it. And so I really encourage everybody to read this book. I have one more quote for everybody, just because I love Tess of d'Urbervilles, and every time I think about this book, I think about this one quote, and that what keeps me wanting to reread it over and over again. I've reread this book several times already. It's not really a spoiler. I'm going to leave out the name of the character that she's talking about in her letter. But Tess has this really great line, and this is what I think of every time I think of this book. And it goes like this. "Oh, why have you treated me so monstrously? I did not deserve it. I have thought it all over carefully, and I can never, never forgive you. You know what I did not intend to wrong you, and why have you so wronged me? You are cruel, cruel indeed, and I will try to forget you. It is all injustice I have received at your hands." I don't know if that quote does the book justice. I hope while listening to the first chapter that you enjoyed it and it made you want to read the book. But again, this was a session of APL Mystery Reads, and I hope that you enjoyed Tess of D'Urbervilles by Thomas Harding. And I hope you all have a really great day. Bye-bye.